Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2157. Buckle up because today we're going racing. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, with a very special guest by the name of Sarah Montgomery. Sarah, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Let's do it.
Now, it's kind of a funny question to ask a lady like you who's used to releasing clutches, being out on the racetrack as much as you race. And I'm going to give you a proper introduction, but first I want to ask you this. What's one little thing that maybe people don't know about Sarah Montgomery?
I would honestly say that as much as I seem like I'm an extrovert online and in person, I very much love alone time and, not being around people sometimes. And I definitely have a very much of an introvert side, which a lot of people don't probably expect.
Well, is when you're racing, you're out amongst your teammates, other racers, the fans, and when you do all the social media today, even though you're alone when you do it, you feel like you're with a lot of people. And today we're just surrounded by so much stuff. I mean, it just is kind of crazy. That alone time is kind of nice and special. I've had guests on the show that like to go out into nature to do that, to be alone and be with nature. Is that something you like to do?
I love outdoors. I actually just bought a mountain bike recently. So I, go with my friends and just love doing outdoor stuff, no doubt.
Yeah, it's a good, healthy thing to do for sure.
Absolutely.
Let me give you a proper introduction. We're going to dive into this role. I've had a lot of people on the show that speak very highly of you, Sarah, and saying, wow.
Oh, no.
Well, no, that's a very good thing. People in the racing world that just give you accolades. So you're making some waves out there, and I think that's pretty darn cool. Sarah Montgomery is a racer competing in the World Racing League, known as WRL, in a BMW M4 GT4. She started racing after attending an IndyCar event at the young age of 10, and she drove go-karts in dirt ovals. And guess what? She won 3 championships. Spec Miata was the next that she raced before having a driver's license. She was jumping in that car. Professional level racing soon began in the battery tender Mazda MX-5 Cup Series back in 2014. And in her rookie year, she was the highest finishing female and top 10 in points, being the first woman to podium in the global Mazda MX-5 Cup Series. Very cool. She drove a Porsche Boxster in WRL in 2020, and for the 2021 season, Sarah competed in the highest class of WRL, driving a Porsche GT4 car, earning a win at the 24-hour of Sebring race in October. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. When Sarah's not racing, she spends a little bit of time with our friends at the Porsche Experience Center in Atlanta, Georgia, and she loves to sell people their dream homes in real estate. You are a busy lady. We'll be back in just a minute. But first, a word from our sponsors. They're the ones that keep gas in the tank here, so give them a little love, and we'll be right back. Buckle up. I love Covercraft's new 5-layer all-climate cover. It was developed and engineered for anything Mother Nature can throw our way. It's very soft, breathable, and easy to store, and pampers your paint and interior surfaces, providing maximum UV, rain, dust, and snow protection. Add their gust guards for windy conditions for extra protection. Their 5-layer all-climate cover is custom-tailored with Covercraft's attention to detail, form and fit with a quality and attention that's been their standard since 1965. Covercraft protects cars, trucks, motorcycles, RVs, trailers, and watercraft too. Every one of my vehicles is protected by a Covercraft cover. And I have a deal for you. Use the code YEAH21 at covercraft.com and you'll get 10% off your Covercraft order plus free shipping. That's right, 10% off and free shipping. Just type in the word YEAH, Y-E-A-H, 21 at checkout, YEAH21 at covercraft.com. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. Most people don't think about their collector car insurance until their annual premium becomes due. Well, why wait and see if there are better options for your beloved rides? I didn't. Did you know if you change carriers before your policy runs out, your insurance company has to refund you the unearned portion of your policy premium? I did my homework, I shopped around, and I found American Collectors Insurance. They've been protecting collector vehicles since 1976. I encourage you to call my friends at American Collectors Insurance. Ask them about their agreed value policy. And if your collector vehicle is on your regular auto policy, you will be shocked at the savings, not to mention the assurance, should something bad happen to your ride, that you'll get what your vehicle is actually worth. Give them a call today for a quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of Mark Green at Cars Yeah! American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. Automotive enthusiasts just like you and me. That's American Collectors Insurance. Give them a call today. Jim Canova is a past guest here on Cars Yeah! And he's detailed over 8,000 vehicles. And that kind of professional experience leads to innovation. He was tired of uncomfortable stools and creepers and being down on his knees when detailing cars. So as a result, Jim thought, you know what, there must be a better way. And he invented the Bumby Seat. His unique design gets you off your knees and your bum onto a far more comfortable seating position for all your low-level automotive detailing. The Bumby Seat, with its patented full flat design, allows you to adjust your position to the task at hand. Convenient side trays hold your car care products, tools, cloths, or a tasty beverage. Built for the toughest driveways and garage tasks, the Bumby Seat has wheels that roll easily over almost any surface, and it makes a great around-the-home adjustable stool for hobbies, yard work, or take it to the car show. The full flat design makes storage a breeze. Jim has launched an Indiegogo fundraiser, and you can get in on the start of what's sure to be an industry favorite. Go to Indiegogo.com and type in Bumby Seat, that's B-U-M-B-E-E Seat, to be one of the first in line to start improving your automotive detailing experience today. That's Bumby Seat on the Indiegogo.com website. A fun folding mobile seat design. So, Sarah, we are back. So, World Racing League. Wow. I mentioned to Sarah in our pre-show chat that I've had lots of people on the show that speak very highly and go, wow, this lady, watch her because she is coming on strong. I want to talk a little bit about how this whole racing thing happened. I mentioned in your intro, back when you were pretty young, 10, you were racing go-karts and going to racing events. What bit you with the racing bug?
So it's kind of funny. My dad got free tickets to an IndyCar race whenever we were younger. He was like the number one salesperson at his car dealership. So, as a kid, I'm like, why are we going watch cars go around in circle? This is dumb. Why not go to Disney World or something like that? And as soon as we got to the race and I saw an IndyCar go around at, almost 200 miles per hour, the smell of the fuel, the burning of the rubber, everything just was so fascinating. I instantly fell in love. And it's the true instant fall in love saying that definitely happened. And at that point, I was glued to the fence. I wanted everything to do with racing. And then shortly after we got home from that race, I brought my parents my piggy bank and just simply wanted everything to do with anything that had four wheels and went fast. So
this is pretty funny because, you said you brought your parents your piggy bank. I think at that very young age, you knew that racing costs a lot of money and it requires a lot of expenditures and so forth. But the process that you've gone through, this building up, starting in go-karts in the dirt, which so many successful racers started that way, because in the dirt, you learn a lot about car control and driving by the seat of your pants and so forth. Yeah. But you've gone through some pretty cool series. So before we get into what you're doing this year, can you kind of walk us through some of this? I mean, Mazda, the MX-5 Cup Series is pretty darn cool. And then, of course, driving Porsches and driving BMWs. I mean, you're driving all the cool stuff that I love. So this process as you work through us, kind of walk us through the learning curves and then what got you to what you're doing today.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of learning curves. When I first started, you always hear the women thing not being accepted. And as much as I try not to be that person, it definitely was a thing when I first started racing in dirt. A lot classier people now in a sense of where I grew up in that area. But, people I was racing against just did not like the fact that there was another female on the track. And, I even had one of my good friend's mother come up to me and just basically say, let those guys go around you.
What?
You're going to be okay. Yeah. It blew my mind. I'm so serious.
Wow.
Like, it just was not accepted. And it's funny, like, as I started getting up into higher and faster racing, you'd think it almost be less accepted, but it's so not that way. It's like, this girl's really here to just be another one of us. And like, she's actually kicking our ass. So she's here to stay. So it is kind of funny. I definitely had to grow a bit of a backbone at a younger age. And, a lot of my friends going through high school and college were out partying and drinking. And my sole focus was not to make a sponsor upset on social media. So I never wanted to be seen out in those settings. And it's not like I feel like I missed out, but just like such a learning curve of growing up quicker to try and keep partners happy and to grow partnerships and things like that. Definitely a huge learning curve in multiple aspects, if that makes sense.
Well, it does. And, as a young person, how did you, and I'll get to I love a kind of a mentor question in a moment, inspirations. But how did you know, like, what were you surrounding yourself with to know that those things were important at a young point in your career? Because that's not just something that just pops in your brain. I mean,
yeah.
Do you have some great people around you or people that were saying, this is what you need to do?
Yeah. So definitely a lot of that. And a lot of self-motivation too. My parents were perfectly well off, but not enough to pay for my racing all the time. So when I first got started, I was too young to even understand what business was in a sense, so my dad would go out and try and find partners and, for me to keep my dream going or starting more or less. Yeah. So I think just seeing how hard he worked and, back whenever I was young, computers aren't what they are now. So like him making a partnership deck basically took months. Now technology is so easy. You can just slap stuff together and they have templates. But back in the day, you have just like a blank Word document and you're trying to put pictures and then this shifts a little bit, it's just, And I think seeing how hard he worked was really motivating for me as a young girl to not ruin this. And like, I was so headstrong and like wanted to race so bad that I didn't want anything to be messed up. I didn't want to upset anyone because I just wanted it. I think having my dad and, all my family was super supportive too, but my dad was like the strong businessman and grew his business into what it is today. And I think that was just inspiring because I couldn't do it without him. Honestly, that just really kind of helped me get that mindset of being independent and strong and not doing anything to ruin a relationship. He always told me, don't burn bridges because that's the worst thing you can possibly do. And I kind of lived by that.
Well, smart father, mentor, inspirational driver, as they say, that you had. Very, very fortunate to have all that. And in addition to racing, I want to touch real quickly, as if that doesn't occupy enough of your time. You're a real estate agent too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like I have my toes dipped in a whole bunch of things because I don't enjoy sitting still. So I got my real estate license in Georgia about 3 years ago and actually started using it about 2 years ago and now actually selling a lot. So I can't complain. I definitely stay busy, but my clients know that racing is my number one. And when I'm gone, like I'm on a team. So if they need something, they can reach out to them and it just works. And I think they understand that. And that is always really nice when you have understanding people to work with.
Well, your timing was pretty good because the real estate market up until right now, as you know, you're in the middle of it, has slowed a bit because of interest rates. But boy, things were like going skyrocketing. So you got your feet into the real estate track when everything was going really fast, which is a great thing. And now you get to learn how to deal with, okay, how do you get somebody into a home?
Normal market.
Well, yeah, exactly. When I tell my kids or friends, my wife and I, we bought our first house. Our interest rate on our loan was 14%.
Exactly.
And they go, what? How could you buy a house then? Well, houses were $150,000, not $1 million. Little different. So definitely everything changes a little bit. And you also do a little bit of instructing at the Porsche Experience Center in Atlanta. We've had past guest Ray Schaefer on the show here. He's become a friend of mine that is so active in that whole program. How do you like jumping? I've got ask of racers jumping into the seat when you've got someone else at the wheel.
It's something.
It's something.
So honestly, I don't do it too much anymore. I do a lot of work, still right seating, but I actually enjoy teaching teenagers car control. So basically new licensed kids, what to do if their car starts to spin and things like that. But Porsche is a little bit different because it is grown adults and who just love the brand and want to basically push the limits of the car that they've always dreamed of driving. And honestly, I have fun as long as people listen. Every once in a while, I'll get that super cocky, younger guy who's just like, I'm not about to listen to this girl who knows nothing about what she's talking about, but they just don't know what I really do. And I don't care to tell them because they don't deserve to know.
Well, there's always that hot shoe, that thinks he knows how to drive because he's sitting in a car that can do it, but it's quite the opposite. So let's get back to what you're doing this year with what you're driving, what the World Racing League is all about. Let's start with WRL. What is the World Racing League for people that maybe don't know everything about it?
Sure. So WRL is basically high performance, endurance racing, if you want to call it that. So we race on left and right hand turn tracks if you're, that new to racing. So it's not NASCAR in a sense of doing ovals. We're actually on what we call a road course, which are typically between 2 to 4 miles long, I would say. And World Racing League is a little bit different than, other sports car series and like IMSA or things like that, because they're long endurance races. So each race weekend, we have at least 2 8-hour races. So an 8-hour race on Saturday and another 8-hour race on Sunday. And the special thing about endurance racing is that there's multiple drivers per car. So I'm not driving the entire 8 hours, which is the funniest reaction for people who don't understand racing. When I tell them that it's an 8-hour race, they're like, oh my God,
Yeah. How do you do that for 8 hours?
How do you do that? Yeah. So there's 2 other drivers, my team owner, Brad McCall, and another fantastic driver, Cole Lofsgaard. And us 3 basically split the 8 hours basically in about 2 to 3 hour segments. So it kind of just depends on the race and the weather and all the factors as far as who drives at what point in time. But WRL is really special because there's somewhere between 60 to 90 cars on track at a time. There's a ton of people.
Yeah.
And there's multiple different classes. So there's 4 classes out there total. And our class, which is the GTO class, as you said earlier, is the top level class. So it's the fastest cars. And there's probably about 40 cars on average entered in the GTO class. So even though there might be 90 cars on track, we're only technically racing against 40 of them.
Yeah, very cool. Well, Brad McCall was a guest a couple of weeks ago, actually, on Cars. Yeah, he's the one that introduced me to Sarah. So, Brad, thank you very much for bringing another awesome, inspiring guest here to Cars. Yeah, he runs a great team, and you're with an awesome group of people. And this year, you're driving a BMW, an M4?
Correct. So last year we were doing the Porsche Cayman, and this year, it's a little bit more competitive, is the BMW GT4 race car. So it's like basically a factory built BMW from BMW. You can't just go buy this car and build it. I mean, technically you could, but it's more special because it's factory built. So it comes straight from the factory at BMW, fully built as a race car.
They're so cool. I mean, it's just awesome. Yeah. Great group. And my listeners know I'm a big fan of Porsche and BMW. I've got a M3 in my garage. Nothing like
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I've had it since 05. Bought it brand new.
Yeah.
It's an E46.
Cool.
Every time I think about selling it, I drive it and go, I can't sell this thing. It's too much fun. It's just.
I know this is such like a basic question, but what color is your E46?
Well, it's silver with a red interior.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I ordered it without a sunroof because my first car, I had the first gen when it came out, an 01, and I used to track that car a lot. So I got it without a sunroof, with a helmet on my head, there wasn't any problem.
Oh, there you go.
Car. And did it again with this car, but this car's not been on the track because at that point I started racing vintage cars. So stopped tearing up my street car and doing it with purpose-built race cars, which was really fun. When I ask you a question that is kind of a silly question for racers, but what is your favorite part of racing?
Oh, there are so many things. Obviously, if we just take out the actual driving part, because, that seems like such the typical answer, just being in the car, I think it's honestly like the family aspect of it. I've been with Round 3 Racing, my team, for 3 or 4 years now, and it's the same guys, it's the same crew, it's the same everyone, and we've all just become family. And I think it's special because we have a race about once a month, and you get to see your family once a month, and they're all so excited to be there. They're all amped, and they all genuinely understand your passion of wanting to win and your passion of loving cars. So, even though I have a lot of best friends here, they just don't fully grasp that because they're not, necessarily in the racing world. So to be able to share my passion with other people who are just as passionate about it is really probably one of the most special things about racing.
Well, racing is all about a team sport. And for people that aren't into racing, when they learn that, it becomes quite interesting. There's a series that came out, I think it was earlier this year, about Formula One, documentary type series. And it did an enormous amount of positivity, I guess I should say, to bringing people who weren't into racing. Yeah. Because, and my daughter's a great example. My listeners know this. I try to get her interested in racing her whole life. And she just, Dad, not interested.
Not her thing.
And now she watched that series with her husband who wasn't into racing. And we just had dinner with them, or lunch this past weekend. And, did you see the F1 race? What do you think about this guy and that guy? And I'm like, look at him, like, who are you?
Yeah.
And now they're into it. So that team aspect of the sport is so important, and it's just, it's a vital piece. I think if more people understood that and got into that aspect, I think the whole racing genre would have a lot more fans. And I hope they do more of those documentaries for all different aspects of racing to help people see that. We'll take a short break. We come back. I've got a challenge question for you, which is kind of a silly question for racers because racing is all about challenge. But keep that thought in mind, and we'll be right back. Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions. Ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. And be sure to use the code CARS when you subscribe, and they'll give you $10 off. Boom! Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. You listeners know that I'm a huge car care fanatic, and my friends at AutoGeek created their Wolfgang Deep Gloss Paint Sealant for perfectionists like you and me. Wolfgang Deep Gloss Paint Sealant is designed to provide long-lasting protection and a glossy, slick finish that, well, it's unmatched. The use of polymer technology ensures your paint is protected from environmental contaminants, those damaging UV rays, and lasts up to 3 months long. By providing the glossy look of carnauba wax with the longevity of a synthetic formula, Wolfgang Deep Gloss Paint Sealant is the best of both worlds. Go to autogeek.net to get yours for the best product selection on the internet today, along with their skilled technical support. Autogeek.net is where I go for all my detailing needs. That's autogeek.net. Today's vehicles are essentially computers on wheels, and it takes more than a wrench and oil to keep them humming. That's why Cars Yeah supports TechForce Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to driving tomorrow's workforce of skilled technicians forward. Techs keep our cars, trucks, airplanes, and fleets rolling. Yet there's a massive tech shortage because many young people don't know it's no longer a blue-collar job. Today, it's a new-collar career. It involves computers, technology, it's in high demand, you get paid really well, and you can live and work anywhere in the country. I know you're passionate about cars, trucks, and motorcycles, and you can help pass that passion on to the next generation of techs so our rides keep rolling down the road. Visit techforce.org today and learn how. So, Sarah, the big challenge question here I like to ask everybody, and this is not so much about the obstacle, failure, the challenge you faced, but what it taught you, because we all know, like racing, when you get out there in the marbles, things get a little dicey to learn a little bit more. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. So walk us through maybe a rough patch, a rough pit stop, a rough race, and what did you learn from it?
So back in 2017, I had a pretty bad crash at Mosport in Canada, and basically total lost the car, and I was renting the car, so basically had to write that off, and it would just really, to be honest, sucked. I don't have the money to just write a check for a new car like, a lot of young racers do with their parents' checkbook. Which I'm fortunate because I've learned so much more because I don't have that opportunity, but that just really was rough because I didn't have anything in the works for the next year. I was broken. I had broken ribs. It was literally the hardest, darkest time of my life because I didn't know what was next and there was nothing out there for me. And I was trying to pay all of this car off, and it was just rough. The only thing that really kept me going was my dad kept telling me and hounding me, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. You don't know when the end of the tunnel is, but there's always going to be something. And, sure enough, he was so right. And right after that was when I joined the MX5 Cup Series and was the first female to podium. So it was such a reset on life, not taking anything for granted because I didn't know if I was ever going to be in the race car again. It was just very challenging mentally as well as physically, just trying to keep pushing forward and to have my family and friends there supporting me, even though they couldn't physically get me back in a car, obviously, but they just were there. And that was just such a huge learning curve of don't ever give up because you never know what's around the corner.
This is a great golden nugget you dropped here for listeners in every aspect of life. You're going to encounter a point where everything looks pretty dark. Let's say you lose a job and it was no reason of your own. Just say the company bankrupted or they just were bought and they brought in all their people and all of a sudden, goodbye. Thanks for your 10 years. See you later. And my question for you is, in that dark moment, on top of the physical pain of recovering from a crash and the emotional and financial strain of paying for a car that, I remember borrowing a friend's surfboard when I was in high school and it broke. Big wave. And so I couldn't afford a new board, but now I had to figure out a way to buy him a new board to pay for. It's just different than what you did, but I think you get the point. So how did you work through that? And you mentioned mental. That's the key. How did you find ways to work through the mental aspect of, this looks like the end. The doors are closed. The garage shut down. The lights are off. I can't get back into this. How did you work through that? What were the processes that helped you get through that? Because this will help somebody listening today that's dealing with whatever challenge that looks pretty dark.
Yeah, no doubt. And, it was hard for me to even watch races or anything just because it made me almost sick to my stomach. God, I should be there. I think the thing that really just helped me going was honestly the dream of something's going to work out. And, even though I felt like I was lying to myself a lot,
yes,
it, wound up working out. And, in a sense of me never giving up, whether, that was just more me to myself, mentally telling myself that of never giving up, it, really worked out and in the most unexpected way. And for me to be in a race car now still just blows my mind. And I feel grateful every day. Like you said earlier, I've gotten to drive some really badass cars. And I think it's just the thought of never giving up. You never know where life may take you. So I know it's so such a cliche thing, but it truly, I think, is what got me through that.
You said the words never give up, and I always smile. I've had hundreds of racers on this show, and now it's become a little bit of a fun game for me when I have a new guest on the show who's a racer, because I always think, at what point in our talk will they say the words never give up? Because every racer has said that, and this is a great lesson for everyone in life. And you're right, it is cliche, but it is real.
It is.
And what's that great line, when you're marching through hell, just keep marching?
Yeah.
Which means, another great Winston Churchill
Seriously.
quote. Yeah, just don't give up. So looking forward down the track, because this is what we learned to do as racers, always look way ahead, not right in front of you. Bucket list, do you see your career going? If I could wave the magic wand and say, this is where you're going to be 3-5 years, what's it look like for you, Sarah?
Well, not realistically, and of course, never giving up on my dreams, I just don't have the funds to just buy an IMSA ride. So the most that I can do is just try and find partners to help me get there. And so that's kind of why I have a backup job of real estate, because you never know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
I have basically accepted the fact that I'm not going to ever be a paid driver, but that doesn't mean that I can't get into IMSA and at least do the series that I've always dreamed of since I was young. Ideally, if I could wave a magic wand, my cousin happens to be Bill Riley, who owns and designs Riley Technologies and designs all the, winning prototypes and things like that for IMSA, and has for many years. Bob and Bill Riley, that's all my family, ironically enough. And I think my biggest dream would be able to race in one of his cars one day. That would be one of my biggest bucket list items for sure.
Absolutely. Sounds very cool. So let's talk about a special vehicle in your life. This could be a street car, or it could be a race car that really you got in and said, how did I get here? This is pretty cool. What is that special vehicle, and share a story about that ride?
So I would say my most special vehicle was probably my MX-5 Cup car. So in 2015 was the last year of the NC model that Mazda allowed us to use in the MX-5 Cup series. And the next year we had to buy factory-built MX-5s from Mazda. And at that point, I knew that I was just no way I could afford this race car, because it was expensive, for a Mazda. You're like, what the heck? To be honest, but, I was just like accepted the fate of, this is never going to happen because I can't afford this new car and to race on top of that. But I got a phone call one day, and it was from a private donor of mine who wrote a check and bought me an MX-5 Cup car.
Whoa.
Which blew my mind. I didn't even know, how do you thank someone, besides like a handwritten card? You're like, a bottle of wine ain't going to cut it,
Go win races. That's how you thank them.
Oh, exactly. So that was just such a special car to me, because it just gets more special, and I'm going to try not to tear up from it. But the gentleman who purchased that car for me wound up passing away the next year.
Oh, no.
So I had a year off from MX-5 just because financial issues, that seems to be the running going for MX-5 or any sort of racing. But in 2019, when I was fortunate enough to get back on the team of MX-5 Cup with Six Sideways, it was the same exact car that donor had bought me. And that was when I podiumed in MX-5 Cup. And I just genuinely would love to talk to him about that. But I know he's watching down and is probably just so thrilled that his help got me to where he wanted it to go, if that makes sense. So,
well, of course. What a special person in your life. I mean, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, no doubt he is very proud and smiling. And having support like that of somebody, oh, geez. I mean, yeah, how do you thank them? I mean, again, I guess you go out and you win races. That's the best you can do.
Exactly.
So I'm going to be your car psychologist and crawl into your head a little bit here. If you were reincarnated, manifest as a vehicle, not what you want to be, but how you perceive the lady in the mirror, deep down inside, what would you be, but more importantly, why?
So besides racing, or you're talking about me being a car?
Well, you could be a race car. You could, I've had people be all sorts of things. The whole key here is not what you want to be. That's the easy go-to. It's more about how you perceive your personality, your nuances, who you are, but in some kind of vehicle. So you might be a Ford F-150 truck because you just keep getting the job done. Yeah. I currently have a BMW street car, 335i. Nice.
With the M Sport package, of course. But I would either say something like that or a Porsche Turbo S because, I know those are kind of different completely, but I think they're both like very classy looking. But unless you know what you're looking at, you don't know what it is. So it might just look like a BMW. It might just look like a Porsche, but they both have a lot of power, and they both are spunky and sound really good only if you know how to work it.
I like the way you did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Porsche Turbo S. Yeah. My dream car, if I wanted to write a check that big, which I don't.
I know.
Yeah. Very, very pricey cars, but they're so awesome. And I've had friends that have gotten to a point in their lives where they can buy what they want. And they'll buy like the GT3 or GT2 or something like that. And then they quickly realize if they don't do a lot of track time, kind of made a mistake here. And they've ended up getting rid of that and getting the Turbo S because it does all that stuff and more.
Exactly. But it just looks kind of like, even if you pass by it on the road, you're like, oh, I guess that's just another Porsche, you know, whereas like a GT3 has like the big wing. It's got the big sporty look. Like, I don't want people to pay that much attention to me. I want to basically have my results prove myself versus looks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, nicely done.
Yeah.
So how about a great book? We love books here. Is there a great book that you've read you'd like to share?
Yes. So I know that this is kind of funny, but I truly had difficult times with mentality and racing and always thinking I'm driving someone else's car. How do I fix this if it breaks? Just getting in my head, seeing myself winning the race before the race is actually finished or started, you know, just like having a sour mentality versus just living in the moment. And it is just a book, which is kind of funny, but it's called Performance Thinking by Jacques Dallaire. And that truly helped my mindset of how to properly think as a race car driver. And it's not solely focused on racing. Like, sure, a lot of things in there are, you know, racing related, but it's also for anyone in life just trying to focus more.
Great book. Jacques was a guest here on Cars. Yeah, I love that book. And it works. Yeah. That book ties to everything in life.
It's amazing.
Yeah, he's done a tremendous job with helping people. You said something really important, I think, and it's hard for me to do, hard for a lot of people to do, but that book helps you, is living in the moment versus the past or the future, which so many of us are consumed by the past. And then we're so busy looking into the future, it's like the old saying, stop and smell the flowers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that book helps. I'm glad you recommended that. So I'm going to enable you to go on what I call the ultimate drive. Now, in your case, this could be the ultimate race too. I have a magic wand. I'm going to enable you to have any vehicle in the world. Could be street car, race car. I'm going to park it in your garage. You can take it anywhere, race it or drive it. And here's the fun part. You can take anyone with you, even somebody who has passed. So you could bring somebody from the past into the future. Now, some people have said, I'm not going to have anybody with me. I'm just going to be by myself. So that's an option too.
That's not fun.
There you go. There you go. I like that. What's the ultimate drive look like for you?
I am going to, there's so many cars out there. I would probably, stick to something newer and go with, here we go, cliche, a Porsche GT3 or an GT3 RS or something like that. And for sure, take my dad.
Yeah.
I think that would just be, and probably like backcountry roads. I think he would just have such a great time and, father-daughter bonding time. Who wouldn't love that? He's basically, kept me going in racing, and I know he loves cars as much as I do. So that would just be one hell of an adventure.
I think so. I was down at Car Week in Pebble Beach, Monterey at the Quail, and Porsche was there launching the new GT3 RS, which is quite wild. Holy cow.
Yep.
A lot of crazy stuff on that vehicle. It was in classic livery, white with the green Carrera stripes and so forth, or in this case, a GT3. But maybe we'll get you one of those. Why not?
Yeah. That's fine. I would not be mad about that, Mark.
I think so. Oh, you're not a cheap date, are you, Sarah?
No,
holy cow.
I'm sorry. I'll drink water. I don't need alcohol, but I definitely want.
There you go. I appreciate that. No, much more fun to get in a car and go drive than sit and drink wine all night. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, you've taken us on a wonderful ride today and had so many people say great things about you, and especially Brad, of course, the team owner of who you drive with there. Awesome to get you on the show. Before I let you go, could you share some words of inspiration with our listeners?
Yeah, I think there are definitely people out there to, I say this lightly, make your life miserable or tell you that you can't do it. And, you're going to always encounter those people, whether they're close to you, family or friends or whatever. And they don't always know what they're talking about. Either they're just jealous of the opportunities you have or, whatever the case may be. But I definitely think don't listen to the haters because they're just trying to bring you down with them.
Yeah, I've heard this before. Ignore the naysayers and get out there and do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy to get caught up in that these days, especially when you're a public figure like you are. And I always remind people you can delete, you can ignore, you can scroll on by.
Yeah.
And you have the power to do that.
Yeah.
How can people learn more about you and follow you in the WRL?
Yeah, so I'm not hard to find, I feel like. I've got all social media platforms, and as you'll see probably in the link here, my name is Sarah with an H. So, if you just look me up on any social media platform, or I have a website, sararacing.com, I'm pretty easy to find.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure you can find Sarah and follow along with her and her racing team. Easy to do. It'll be on the Cars Yeah website, Sarah's page there. So all the clicks will be there in the links. Sarah, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. A little pit stop with me today. This has been fun. I'm so glad I got you on the show. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you. I usually say I'll see you down the road, but I'll see you at the WRL race. How's that sound?
I'll see you at the racetrack. I'll see you on the track.
That would be more. Well, I'm not sure. I don't think I could keep up with you, but we'll definitely be watching you go around. Thanks for being with us today. This was fun.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.